wisdom, slow pours like molasses. Visionary queens and the bosses, no glasses. TammyRenee microphone, fire she embraces. Stories reshape, no trace of stasis. Echoes of heroes, waves they create. Lessons in the struggle, heavy as fate. Voices of inspiration, elevate the state. Wave of change, ripples, never too late. Leaders who inspire, candles in the dark.
Come on into the wave of change, where I am interviewing leaders who inspire actions, sharing stories, giving tips, and dropping those gems. Come make some waves with us. Make a comment, share, and dare. And if you dare, ask a question because we'll answer it for you. If you are catching this replay, you know what to do. Hit hashtag replay. My name is TammyRenee, and I am here to help you make a change and take action in your life. Today, we are talking about removing the should be's and claiming the I wants. Drop some waves in the comments and let's welcome Dr. Jamie Pay, coaching self-employed professionals, freelancers, and solo businesses to design their ideal work-life balance. Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. I am excited about getting into this work-life balance that we're doing. But before we do that, give us a little bit of information about yourself and your business.
Okay, so like you already wonderfully introduced me, I work with solo business owners, self-employed folk, and freelancers. So basically anybody who works solo or independently, away from big structures, big organizations. They've decided to strike out and do their own thing. And now they've found themselves just, overwhelmed with how much work there is with running their own business.
Mm-hmm.
You might be familiar with this yourself at some point, perhaps, right? And the thing about working on your own is that there aren't clear boundaries around your workday, right? Like there's always something else that you could be doing for your business. There aren't the parameters that we usually have when, say, we work in a company, right? Like 9 to 5, at 5 o'clock, you can shut off and go home. It's also not as clear cut in terms of what your tasks and your responsibilities are. Like when you're in a job, you've got your responsibilities and your roles and your tasks. But when you're running a business on your own or when you're working on your own, it's like you've got to do all of it. So, so it's so much easier for the work to bleed into every other part of your life. Your life becomes your work becomes your life. And that can be a good thing. And this is what I'm here to help people with. If we are making enough space for rest and play and the rest of our lives, then that work-play balance, I prefer to use the term work-play integration or work-play harmony or work-play unity, or work-life unity.
Yeah, I love that work play aspect of it and how you use that. Because I love to play. I am a big kid at heart, but I never thought about how do I teach someone else to be that big kid at heart, because I love it and I can't give up part of that. I cannot. And so when you also talked about moving from a 9 to 5, that structure does something for us. It just helps us stay in line, right? Yeah. And then when we move into our own space, we no longer have that structure. So we just, like you said, it just takes over our whole entire life being a business person.
Yeah, it does take over our whole lives. And at the same time, like a lot of my clients, what I see is that even though now you're in a completely different structure, I mean, there's no structure, you create your own structure, and you're creating your own business and the way that you want to do things. But a lot of people still carry full-time employee mindset. So there's still the sense that like, oh, I must be at my desk from 9 to 5. I must be constantly producing. There's all these very clear ideas. You've disappeared. Video. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we were having a little breakout there. I can hear you now. Oh, hello. I guess it's that long distance call we got.
Ooh, okay. You're kind of glitching in and out a little bit. Oh, I think you're back. Okay, you're back. Yeah. I think you're back.
Okay, go ahead, say something for me.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, and you're on tune.
Okay, great. It's settled now, I think. So yeah, I think the people that I work with, they're struggling. Well, their biggest challenges are shaping their own days to be able to enjoy more of that rest and play and that good work-life balance or work-life unity. So there's already the struggles of now there are no boundaries, right? Like work can take over my life. And at the same time, there are also a lot of them carrying over expectations and structures and rules from full-time employment and trying to impose that into their own business, right? So then you end up with this sort of tension where you're trying to create something of your own and to work in your own way, but that's rubbing up against years and if not decades of conditioning and habits that we pick up from working in full-time employment. Mm-hmm. So what I do with my clients is really try to help them to start to let go of some of those old, outdated expectations and rules to really, really curate and design a work life that is actually going to support them, support their business and their goals and their growth professionally, but also at the same time that is going to truly, truly help them to enjoy and experience true balance and harmony between work and life. And I think when you do that right, then work doesn't feel like work. Work just feels like part of your life. It feels like play because you're enjoying it, you're in flow, you're creative. And you know, it just becomes something that you do. It's part of your life, your soul purpose, your life purpose, rather than it being like, oh, work on the other side.
Right. So when you say you help people to recognize some of the things that they're let go, is that what we should be letting go? And what would be some of those things?
Yes. So this leads us on to, it's all the shoulds, I believe, that we're working to let go of.
Okay.
So how I define a should is basically anything that's an expectation, a pressure, an ideal, a standard, a rule that is coming from outside of ourselves. So it's an externally imposed ideal or expectation that we haven't really decided for ourselves, and possibly, and I'm going to talk about this in a bit more, that doesn't really align with our true goals and wants and desires and needs. But they have become so deeply entrenched either in society, in our families, in the way that we're brought up, that we feel but really beholden and obligated to meet these ideals and these expectations. So very, very common examples are things like, I should be married by the time I'm 28. I should have children. I should earn $1 million by the time I'm 32. I should own a home by the time I'm 30. All these shoulds. They can be very explicit, like the ones I've just listed, or they can be sort of quieter like not as obvious expectations and pressures that we put on ourselves. So things like, oh, I should be more successful, whatever that means. I should be working harder. I should not be so lazy, you know, in the way, anything basically that makes us feel like we're somehow not enough, that we're not doing something right, that makes us feel guilt or shame for not being enough of something.
It's using that word should that gives you that feeling, huh? Because I'm just now kind of putting together your shoulds and wants. So it's using that word should that brings your vibration lower.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Now I got it.
Yeah. And shoulds, they're quite sneaky. Like they can come up in different ways. They can also come up as I ought to, I must, I gotta do this thing, I have to do this thing. If I don't do this thing, something bad will happen.
Yeah. So are you saying by using that word, and we're just going to use should in an umbrella word. So are you saying by using that word, we kind of not taking responsibility also?
I think so. Yeah. It's almost like you're not exercising agency, or you're not taking control of the choices that you're making. You know, you're not saying, I think there can be good shoulds. We can talk about this as well. But yeah, when we say things like, oh, you know, like I should get married. Yeah, like the onus is on whatever pressure there is outside, whether that's society or family or whatever, that's making us like obliged to get married by the time we're 30. I'm just using that as an example. But yeah, I guess in a way, like you're not taking responsibility for what it is that you truly want, and you're not perhaps giving yourself permission to own what it is that you actually want, or what is going to serve you. So yeah, I think as long as we're acting from that should, you're always acting from a lower vibration. You're always acting from an energy of like not enough or not good enough. Yeah.
Because I can now, I never had this conversation before, but I do. We're going to take the married one just because that's the one you've been using. But saying I should get married and then using the words I want to get married sounds so totally different.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I never thought about it like that. So thank you. I hope y'all writing this down. Take the should out of your mouth.
Yeah. So I love that, you know, words are so powerful and words carry so much energy and meaning within them. That yeah, it's like how we frame something, right? Like how we're choosing to articulate that decision or that choice. So yeah, I love that example, saying I should and I want, like, oh, the shift in intentionality is huge, right?
Yeah, it is huge. And it even just feels huge. Just saying it. So I challenge everyone who's listening, pick something you've been saying you should to. And then if you say you want to, if you don't feel that, then it's not yours.
Yes. Yeah. Another way that I like to work with it as well is to, like I just mentioned briefly earlier, some shoulds can be helpful. So I feel like if we have to work with the word should, or like if you want to work with the word should, there's always a way that we can reframe it. So for example, I should go to the gym because I need to lose weight because I don't want to be a fatty, for example, right? So that's coming from a place of like, oh, I don't really want to go to the gym, but I should. it's coming from a place of like, oh, I'm shaming myself for being overweight and I need to lose some weight. So I like to, for using that example, then I would reframe it to something like, I should honor my body's health and engage in some joyful movement that will help my fitness and help me to feel better. So then it's, the should is in service of what you actually want at the end of the day, right? So the should is not, it's not somebody else's should, it's your should. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not fulfilling some externally imposed obligation, but you are actually choosing a should that is going to amplify and fulfill your truest needs and desires and wants.
So let me ask you, as far as eating healthy. So if I took the word and I said I should be eating healthy.
Oh my gosh, I say myself every day, by the way. This is a real example.
I should be eating healthy. Or do I say I should be going to the grocery store buying healthy food, and then making it personal about I should be nourishing my body with healthy food?
Yeah, I think that sounds, it's whatever is going to help you feel like, oh, this is so good for me, rather than it feeling like, oh, obligation. Yeah. So I love that word, like that, you know, oh, I should eat healthily, more healthily. But what is that eating healthily actually about? It's about nourishing your body with good healthful food. It's about honoring what will serve your body. It's what will give you more energy and help you to feel better. So yeah, instead of saying I should eat more healthily, it could be I should honor my body's health and nourish myself with the foods that will help me to enjoy that health, for example.
So using that example, for me, when I said I should go to the grocery store and buy healthy food, that sounds like work.
Yeah.
That sounds like a whole production. I got to get dressed. It just sounds like work, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if I said, even though I know I have to do that, it's connecting that eating healthy with my soul that will make me go do that.
Yeah.
It's not the thoughts of going to do it. It's the actions within coming out saying, okay, this is a natural process. Let's go to the grocery store. Let's get those foods. But if I'm framing it like before, the old way, that getting rid of the shoulds, I should be going to the grocery store and buying some healthy food. That sounds like a lot of work. Whereas the other one is more peaceful.
Yeah. So another reframe that I like is, instead of saying I should go to the grocery store, again, it's like a chore, right? That's like, oh, my to-do list. Like, oh, I have to go to the grocery store. It is just doing a little tweak and saying instead, oh, I get to go to the grocery store. I get to. Sorry?
I said I'm not ready for that.
or it could be like, I get to go and pick out foods that I really enjoy. Something like that, you know? Yeah. I mean, if that's too much for you, that's fine. No,
I like that way. I get to go get food that I like.
Yeah. I get to go and get food to nourish my body. Yeah. So whatever is going to work for you to help you feel like you're excited to do this, like that it's coming from a place of genuine intentionality and desire to do that.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And I know like sometimes there is a little bit of a fear around that. Like people feel like, oh, if I did that, if I just did what I want instead of what I should, like it would be absolute like chaos. Wouldn't I just eat donuts all day? Like using this example, right? Like, wouldn't I just eat donuts all day if I just did what I want? But I believe it doesn't actually work like that. Like if we really tune into what our body and our mind and our soul at all levels, what we actually want, and we honor that, you will not go mad. You will be giving your body exactly what it needs. Like if you're, if I think, like using the analogy of the donuts again, the reason we go mad with like eating a bunch of donuts and binging usually comes from a place because we've been shooting ourselves first. So we'll say, oh, I should be eating healthily. I should be eating healthy. Then you're just, enjoying celery sticks for, 2 weeks or whatever until you can't bear it anymore. You're completely ignoring your true desire to have a donut. So you're like suppressing, you're suppressing, living out of this I should eat healthily, that eventually you break and then you go on this mad binge to like eat 50 donuts in one sitting.
So that's like a rebellion against yourself.
Yeah. Whereas if you really honor, okay, what do I actually really want right now? Oh, I really want a donut. Go and just get a donut, really fully enjoy it, and not guilt yourself around it, not shame yourself around it. Just think, I'm really going to enjoy this donut. I'm gonna nourish my body with this donut. You will probably find that one donut will be enough. You're not sure. It's not coming out of a place of that lower vibration of deprivation or binging, which is the other extreme, right? You're coming from a truly like aligned place. Like this is such a crude example, like using a donut, but I think when you're really tuned into what your body needs, you will be giving it exactly enough for what it needs at that moment.
Yeah. And it'll help with your energy level, keeping you balanced.
Instead
of being so over highly sensitive about things or being so depressed about things, I feel like if you're honoring yourself and you're doing things without guilt, it helps to create that balance. So speaking about balance, that's what you help people do, right?
Yes.
You help them create a work-life balance.
Yes. Yeah, work-life balance. So I was saying earlier, I don't love the word balance. I know that's a very common phrase to say work-life balance, but I feel like I don't like the word balance because it feels very precarious to me. It feels like I'm balancing on a tightrope and am I tip off one edge? It feels a bit precarious.
Oh, I like that. Now I'm going to be thinking about balance differently.
Sorry if I ruined it for you.
I actually like to use the word harmony.
Harmony, yes, exactly. Yeah, so I like work-life harmony. That your whatever. It's about the fact that whether you are working or you're lifing and enjoying the rest of your life, playing, right? Work and play and life. You feel in harmony and you feel at peace with whatever it is that you're doing. I prefer that approach, really.
And this is more of a want, not a should, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I came across this guy on Instagram once who said, you shouldn't be striving for work-life balance because who wants to be, dividing their life perfectly in half between work and life? Like, surely all of us would want to have more of life than the drudgery of work. So, when I work with self-employed folk and solo business owners who are creating their own work, surely you want to be enjoying that. You want it to be in harmony with your life, that it doesn't feel separate than your life. It doesn't feel like, oh, work is over here and life is over here, but that, it's just part of your life. It's just part of what you do. But yeah, that's what I mean about harmony. Like when it's truly in harmony, then when you're working, it feels like just part of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those, and I'm asking for I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah.
What would you say to those who love their work so much and it feels like work life harmony, but literally they may not have outside harmony because
I see
everything
what you mean.
is about their work, but it doesn't feel burned out to them or overwhelmed. I'm almost positive they're still missing a part
Mm-hmm.
that they need to incorporate in,
Yeah.
or that they should want to
Yeah. Yeah.
incorporate in,
Yeah.
because the friend that I'm asking for loves the work that they do. So everything is centered around the work, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not making time for social things.
Yeah. Yeah. So I fully understand this because I am like your friend. um,
I'll
and
have to tell her.
yeah, yeah, this is something that I am still I'm a work in progress with this as well. I love my work so much. I mean, literally last night, I sort of finished work at about 6, and then I said to myself, I'm going to make dinner, and then I'm going to get back on my laptop and just do an hour's work, just do a bit more, like do some writing. And it was like 3 hours later, I was still
Mhm.
there. And yes, I was enjoying the work. I was really into it. I loved what I was doing. But yeah, actually, that it's not helpful in the long term, right? You are missing some other parts of your life. Like it's
Play
not
part, right?
fully in harmony, right? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So yeah, this is what I am really intentional with working with my clients with. Like I get them to, at the start of the week, to tell me what are 3 things that you're focusing on in your business this week, but also what are 3 things outside of business that you're going to prioritize as well.
Mm.
So I ensure that they are integrating that very much as a part of their plan for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also really, and this is something that I continually have to work on as well. It's realizing that as much as I love doing the work, there's a point at which the work doesn't become actually productive anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a machine. I cannot just keep going and going. At some point, like, my body and my energy levels need a break, right? Like, and it's really, really getting in tune with the knowledge, like really embodying the knowledge that the rest and the play is just as much a part of the work as the work. It's 2 sides of the same coin. And if I'm not honoring, as much as I love the work, if I'm not honoring the rest and the play, then the work isn't going to be good anyway. So if I do love the work as much as I love it and say that I love it, then I need to, I should honor that work by also honoring the other restful, playful activity in my life. Yeah.
So what I did recently was I kind of incorporated 2 days that I try not to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I made one of the days during the week though. It's not just on the weekends,
Mm-hmm.
because I know my schedule. There's a lot of things that happen in the business world, entrepreneur world, on Sundays.
Yeah.
It just happens that way. So for me to say I'm gonna take Sunday off is like I'll never take a Sunday off because I'll always be in an evening class, right?
Yeah.
Not that I have to get up early and do it, but I also took a weekday off. So I take Wednesday off.
Oh, nice. I love that.
And Wednesday, I try not to, do no calls, no interviews, none of that stuff on Wednesdays. But sometimes I will end up doing some back of the house things. But I really, really, what's the word? It's get rid of shoulds. I really am working towards having those 2 days off for my rest and putt.
Yeah, I love that you've done that, because that is really one of the key things that I always try and tell anybody I speak to, which is to plot in your rest and your play first,
Mm-hmm.
and then shape your work around it.
Yeah.
I think the tendency is the opposite, right? Like the tendency is to think, oh,
You know what? Uh-huh.
right? It's like
Yeah.
work first, work hard, and then play hard, but you got to work hard first. Or like, since we were kids, we're told like do your homework first, and then you get to play.
Mm-hmm.
Or that, the way that the work week is built, like, okay, you work Monday to Friday, and then you get the weekend off, right? So work always takes precedent. Work comes first.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to flip it on its head and say, no, actually plot your rest and your work first, and like start sending a message to yourself and your brain that the rest is sacred, and the rest is just as valuable and needs to be honored as much as the work.
Yes, I love it. Well, I really want to say you have shifted my perspective since we've been on here.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Was it a wave
Yes.
of change that you experienced?
Yes, you have really, and I also feel so much more connected to keep those sacred days.
Yeah. And we're going to slip up. There's going to be days where you're like, let me just go on and like potter around on my laptop for my computer for an hour
Yeah.
or two.
And I think there'll be days also when you just have to do something that day because it's
Yeah.
an important call or
Yeah.
an important meeting or something. But we're gonna look at that as that's my overtime.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, having the intention of, okay, Wednesdays are my clear days. And yes, sometimes things are going to come up, right? Like life is going to happen, right?
Right.
But I think just having that intention, that very clear intention of at least trying to keep a big part of that day free, is already a huge step.
Uh-huh. So you teach what is the rest? I guess I don't know if you call it rest method or RES. Yeah. What is and I know that's kind of what we've been talking about, but what is your method in your business? How do you do that with your clients?
Okay, so the rest method is one of the practices that I talk about with my clients. So in general, I very much work with helping my clients to find ways of working that feel good and are productive to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about following the rules or like following the right way to do business or the right way to be productive, because I don't believe there is one right way. I believe that there is only our best way, and we need to find what that is.
Right.
So it's very much about supporting people to find that sweet spot for yourself.
Yes.
And that is in both your working life as well as in your play life. Yeah. So finding that sweet spot between what's going to support you to do the work with focus, with intention, with good optimal energy, and also what's going to support you to be able to rest and play without guilt, and to be able to also rest and play with full intention. So the rest method, it's a 3-step method. The acronym breaks down to: the R stands for rest, the E stands for energize, and the ST stands for stop. So let me just walk you through.
Energize, stop.
Rest, energize, and stop. Yeah. And it's a cyclical sort of method, really. Like one will lead to the other, and what I mean when I explain it. So rest is about planning your rest first, exactly what I've just been talking about. So figuring out what it is that you want to enjoy in your life outside of your work or your business. So it could be something like, I want to have 8 hours of sleep every night. I want to spend, Saturday mornings in the park with my dog. It could be, I want to spend the weekend with my children. It could be, every Thursday night, I must go for my yoga class. Whatever it is, it's plotting that in first. So that's the first step. The second step is energize, and that's really about working out and figuring out what will support you to feel your most energized to work, and leveraging your that optimal energy to do your best work in that time and in those circumstances. So it's not about working harder or longer or more days or more hours. It's finding out what is going to support you, the time of the day that you work, for example, where you work, that is going to help you be most productive and most effective at that time. And when you do this, when you find that sweet spot, you'll find that you will be able to accomplish and get so much more done in less time, right? That's the dream, right? So you can get more done, but you need to work less.
Right.
And then that will then in turn support you to be able to rest more easily and enjoy the fun things and the play. And the final step, stop, is about figuring out when your unique stopping point is in the day. So I like to say that as important as it is to know what supports us to do the work and to get into that beautiful flow of working productively and effectively and creatively, it's important to know what will support that work. And it's equally important to know when you are when you're at the point where you need to stop. Like maybe you're tired, or maybe your brain isn't braining anymore, right? It's that is just as important, to know when you need to stop. So I also help people to figure out what is your unique stopping point.
Okay.
In your body. Yeah, and people forget that, right? Like we either just keep working and working and working and working until we collapse.
Right.
We're just kind of stuck in this like procrastinating, like inactive, guilt-ridden state for days and days and days.
And you're just kind of repeating the same thing over and over because you're stuck, right? So I teach energy management.
Yeah.
One of the things that I teach through energy management to entrepreneurs is finding your sweet spot.
Yes.
Finding that time, because we have this creative energy and we have focus energy.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to do focus work, but you're feeling creative, of course, you're going to be going down the rabbit hole with everything, right? So I do help people recognize these different types of energies that we have and to tap into those. Like I do really well in the middle of the night.
Oh, okay. I love that. I love that you're so clear about that. Like,
yes, I know my schedule. I know when I work good. I know, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're so self-aware about all that." I was like, "Well, because I've put it into practice, But I know I can literally start working on some nights at like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night, but I'll stay up till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so focused or creative. So it could be one or the other. It's just whatever I'm feeling, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because I know the repercussions of doing the opposite of what your body is telling you to do. And when I get it done, girl.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Exactly that. Yeah. There's another kind of method that I like which I kind of made up, which I like to call make no plans. And that is exactly what you're talking about. Like not making any strict plans about, I've got to do this at this time and this at this time, but really letting your energy guide you to what feels good to be doing right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
because you get so much more. You're so amazed. You get so much more done.
Yeah,
I call it create more time in a day.
Yes.
We all know there's 24 hours, but we're going to create more time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. You do get, and people are very scared when I first tell them, like, don't make plans, throw out your to-do list, just get up in the morning or whatever. When you sit down to work, just lean into where's my energy directing me right now? Like, where am I feeling led to work right now?
Right.
And, and people feel very, very nervous about that because it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to get everything done. What if I drop the ball? But actually, when we work in that way, like you've just said, you get more done, actually.
Right. And then you also start to incorporate, I feel like you start to incorporate those feelings a little bit more to balance. So, if you've done a lot of creative stuff, your energy is going to want to take a break from being creative, right?
Yeah,
so it's going to shift into this focus work. Now I got to work on the back of the house business.
Yeah.
The things I don't like to do.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with what you're saying because I do that, and I
think that's that folds very beautifully into what we were talking about. That you're then working from always being led by what you want to do in each moment, rather than like being pushed along by this like I should do this, I should do my accounts, I should sit down and try and come up with some creative ideas, right? Like instead of going, that's very different than going into it saying, "Oh, this is what I want to be doing right now."
Yes, yeah. So like at night, an example, I'm creative, but doing emails, doing funnels, things like that is not my genius spot. But when I'm in that focus mode, I can sit down in one night and get a whole funnel done.
I totally feel that. Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's done, and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. But if you try to make yourself do it at a time,
days.
Forget it.
Days. All right, I got one email done.
Yeah. And it's not very good email either. Right?
We've always got something to do in our business.
Yeah.
So following that energy flow, like you said, helps us to accomplish all those things.
Yeah, and really accomplish it in a way that feels full of ease and flow and not forcing, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love this. So many overlaps in what we do. Oh my goodness, exactly everything that you've said.
Yes. So any tips on anyone that want to figure out their sweet spot in time? Do you have any tips to give people to help them identify when they're feeling these types of ways, or do you think?
Yeah, so I think my biggest tip is also like not to feel like you have to figure it out right now. Like, don't let the sweet spot become another should. Like, I should figure out my sweet spot, right? I think as you're working this out, let yourself experiment and try different things. Maybe sometimes you work through the day, maybe sometimes you work in the evening, and just lean into what feels good. I know that sounds very simplistic, but literally that's what it comes down to. Like, what feels at home in your body, where you're doing the work and it feels effortless and it feels like what I like to call the Goldilocks feeling. The fairy tale, like the kid's story Goldilocks. Where it's like this. For anyone who's listening and who doesn't know this, it's a kid's story. It's about this girl called Goldilocks, and she finds this house. She goes in the house. The house is owned by 3 bears, and the bears have gone out for the day, and Goldilocks basically breaks and enters this house.
Right.
Let's not go into the criminality of that. She sits on a chair and she's like, "Oh, this is too soft. Then she sits on another chair and she's like, oh, this is too hard. And then she finally sits on the third chair and she's like, oh, this is just nice. And then she goes and like eats their food, and like one bowl is too hot, one bowl is too cold, and then the third bowl is, oh, this is just nice. And then she eats it. So she just goes around their house, like basically trying all their things and using all their things. And there's always like one that's too much of this and another one that's too much of this. And then she finds the thing that is just right? So I like to tell people, like, that's what you need to do. That's what, create your own
different things.
Yeah, finding your like, oh, this is just right for me. And you're not going to find that overnight. Like, that's my big tip.
Right.
Let yourself experiment and play and lean into what feels good. And from that, then you can really curate and design that work life and those work days to honor, what feels good for you.
Right.
And it's also trusting and being open and okay with the fact that those patterns can change through different phases of your business. They can change through different seasons. Like maybe in the winter, you move a bit slower. Maybe in the summer, you're a bit more active. And letting yourself evolve and adapt to those changes as well. Yeah, like have fun with it, have fun with finding your own sweet spot.
Right. And I love the fact that you mentioned how our sweet spots could change.
Yeah.
I love that, because what I notice is when there's a nice day outside, even if that's supposed to be normally a time when I'm just kind of blanked out and I'm resting, when there's such a beautiful day, it's something about the energy outside. Oh my God. I can be focused working outside.
Oh, okay.
Yes. When I go outside on nice days, which is what I'm about to do after we get off this call.
Oh, nice.
Because I went outside and I was like, oh my God, it's kind of like that period between right before spring starts to happen, but before summer.
Yeah.
And outside, the energy, I think it supports us in that way.
Yes. And like in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine believes that there is real harmony between our bodies and the external environment. So, the energy, our internal body energy responds to what's going on outside as well. And I love that. I love thinking that, we really are like one with nature, and it's allowing ourselves to adapt and shift as the seasons around us and the environment around us changes, physical environment changes, right?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. But you mentioned Dorothy, right?
Goldilocks.
No, you mentioned who? Oh, Goldilocks.
Goldilocks, yeah.
Yes, you mentioned Goldilocks breaking in the house, and I just had to giggle when you brought that up, because I never thought about it like that. Dorothy and the Seven Dwarfs did it too. She broke into the house.
She did. Oh my God!
These characters breaking in people's houses. Wait a minute, and didn't Cinderella break into the ball?
The ball, she gate crashed. Yeah, she wasn't invited. Like, where's your invite, girl?
What?
And then Alice in Wonderland just going around like helping herself to all the food.
Yes. I just thought about that. As soon as you said breaking into the house, the Seven Dwarfs one came to my mind, and I was like, wait a minute. They all breaking in houses.
That's hilarious.
So what that means is break into your energy, okay? And find your sweet spot.
Yes. Find your own sweet spot. Yeah.
Oh, wow. This has been so fun.
Oh, I've loved this. Oh my gosh. You are such a vibe. Your energy is like, woo!
Thank you. So before we go, though, is there anything else you would like to share? Let people know how to find you. And if you have any specials that you're going on, you're more than welcome to announce them here.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for that. So yes, you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn as Jamie Pay. My handle on Instagram is at Hey Jamie Pay. Hey as in Hey.
Okay.
Um,
Hey.
hey. If you would like to have a little taster of what it's like to work with me, I do offer free 20 to 30 minutes free coaching calls. I call them a work play date. And
Ooh, I
basically
like
what it is
that.
yeah, so what it is you come on a call with me and we will deep dive one area of your business or your work life that is feeling stuck, and I'll find you at least like one actionable tip that you can take away and implement immediately so that you can start enjoying more rest and play in your work days, and to, get out of those ick feelings and to move you closer to that sweet spot.
Yes.
So yes, come join me on a work play date. If you find me on any of on the socials, I can definitely hook you up with a booking link to come and do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds great. So make sure you guys are resting, checking your energy, and you're stopping. And the most important thing is to reframe your should. Because
Yes. To your
you
one.
want your wants. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I want you to have a great day, and I will see you back next week. Bye.
Bye.
Tune in and take a seat now. Stories that make you say wow.